The Sonic Movie Show is a weekly show that you can find on a variety of podcast services. Keep up with us by following our Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. What's up, Sonic fans, and welcome to another episode of the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that's about... Devin, what's your quote?
What the fuck is wrong with you people?
Sonic news, movie news, and Sonic movie news. That's right, that's a quote from the movie, because I completely forgot what we were talking about today. Sonic Movie Show. We talk about shit, whatever. Today we're talking about a movie, 2006 video game adaptation film called Silent Hill. Let me pull up. Called Silent Hill.
That's it. There was no subtitle.
I was pulling up the spreadsheet so I could say that it almost grossed $100 million. It grossed 97%, or 97. Well, I guess 97%
really
of
low.
$100 million. $97 million. You compare that to Resident Evil, which was at 102. Spirits Within, which was 85.
Dude, that's sad that this movie only did like 17 million more than Spirits Within.
Now remember, Tomb Raider was our longest running champion at 274, but then last time's movie, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, see what I did there, was 336. And that will be the one to beat until we finally get to like Warcraft or Detective Pikachu and Sonic beat it. They both beat it, but...
I think the perfect combination is to put Jake Gyllenhaal in the next Sonic film, and then that could break the record. Just combine the two forces into one.
And Angelina Jolie.
Yes. I don't know how... Yeah, we're just going to get rid of James Marsden. Sorry, James. And we're just going to put Angelina Jolie and Jake Gyllenhaal.
I was going to say, you don't replace James Marsden with Jake Gyllenhaal. You replace him with Angelina Jolie. She is the character. She's not a different person. She's playing him now.
It's like an upgrade. They're just like, sorry.
Exactly.
No offense to James.
Jake Gyllenhaal will replace Jim Carrey, obviously.
I could actually see
terrible.
That. Actually, could see
terrible.
That.
No, because
Jake can play a crazy man.
He was a villain in Spider-Man.
Yes.
You know who he was? He was Mysterio, Rey Mysterio. He's doing the thing where he flips horizontally through two ropes to knock you out. And I forget what he calls the move. But that's the Rey Mysterio. No, it was Mysterio, right? Yeah. You know what another Spider-Man villain is? It's a perfect metaphor for, or a perfect facsimile of Dr. Robotnik. It's Green Goblin. Imagine Jake Gyllenhaal as Green Goblin. How terrible that would be. Yes, I am thinking about the Willem Dafoe one.
I'm a Jake Gyllenhaal stan, so I'm not going to go down this path with you.
Well, you know who isn't in Silent Hill? It's Jake Gyllenhaal. I reversed the segue by accident. I meant to say it.
I was going to say...
You know what movie he's not in? Whatever. Let's keep talking about Jake Gyllenhaal. No. We watched Silent Hill, 2006.
Great year. We were in like the middle of finding all those nuclear weapons in the Middle East. Oh, wait.
Yeah, and now they get mad at us when we talk about that on cable news. I mean, that sums up, like, my enthusiasm for trying to even start to talk about this movie sums up my enthusiasm for the actual movie. But yeah, we watched it because, October season. I'm playing with candy right now. I can get one more on this stack. Yeah. Okay. It's a scary movie, right? Okay, so let's take a step back, like we always try to do. Have we seen it? What's our history with this movie? Whatever. I heard about it, heard it was bad, heard it was not bad, heard it was there. But you own it. So you tell me.
Well, first off, yes, I own this on DVD. And it's one of those DVD cases that has the clip-ons, the clips on the edge. So it's not
it's a paper thing with the
No.
plastic.
It's all plastic, and it has like these little clips that you have to undo to then open the case. It's weird. It's like a lock.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe I just thought that they were made of paper. But yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I think
it's like when you get a CD that's not in a jewel case.
2007. My dad definitely bought this in 2007. Since I already had Mortal Kombat 11 in the PlayStation, and I saw that it was free on Amazon Prime, I was like, let me just take the easy route here of just watching it on Amazon Prime. So I did that. But yes, I've seen this movie, I want to say like 5 or 6 times. I watched it a lot when
Dude.
I was younger. Like I said, my dad, I think, got this on DVD around 2007, 2008, and I probably watched it probably a little too young, but my dad also let me watch a lot of hyper-violent content at a young age, so I guess I would throw horror in there as well, as long as there wasn't like too much sex scenes. Yeah, boobies. So, yeah, I've watched this a couple times, and I've always liked it. I will say I haven't watched it in a good amount of time, like probably 5 or 6 years, I would say. But I've always liked it. I always thought it was, I wouldn't say scary, but it had some spooky elements, and maybe a couple moments where, like, not nauseous, but like it made me uncomfortable. And that's what I kind of look for, though, sometimes in horror films. It's kind of, that's what Saw is. You know what I mean? Saw isn't necessarily spooky and jump scary, but it's rather like, oh fuck, why am I watching this? This is making me uncomfortable, but I also love it because
you are complicit in the violence.
Yes, I was complicit. So yeah, I guess I would say I have a decent history with this. Yeah, I like it, and going in, I kind of was like, okay, it's been a couple years, let me see how this goes. So that's where I'm at, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, I
never played any Silent Hill games, by the way. Sorry.
That is actually a good point. I knew it existed. It was on those lists of, like, you know, every video game movie is bad, but like here are some of the ones that aren't terrible, and that was, you know, that's kind of like the kind of frame of reference I kind of have for it. But I have played a few Silent Hill games, never beat any of them. I played Silent Hill 2, one of the greatest games of all time, and I own that on PS2. And I played the remake of the original one on Nintendo Wii, which called Silent Hill Shattered Memories. And only thing that was cool about that, besides the fact that I guess it's a remake, was that stuff that they did in that game you would then later see on in Until Dawn, with like the whole therapy talking thing and how that actually
That's
subtly
cool.
infects. Yeah, because your therapist would be like, here's a coloring book page while we talk. Just color it whatever you feel like, and it's a house with a car, and whatever the majority of the coloring you put on the car, that's going to be the color of that car when your character goes to that house, when you flash back or whatever. Or like,
yeah.
Oh, you painted the house green, the house was green, you know what I mean? Because it's one of those kinds of things. It does some of that kind of stuff. But
that's cool.
Silent Hill 2 is a perfect game, and you can tell that even though Silent Hill 3 and I think 4, let me look this up, were out before 2006, they used a lot of Silent Hill 2 for, Silent Hill 3 was 03 and 4 was 04.
Well, that was convenient.
So all, those 4 were out, and then right after, it was after 2006 and 2007 was going to be another Silent Hill game. They kept making them, but they were kind of always so like even though 3 and 4 were out, it still draws a lot from 2.
I was going to say, since I haven't played any of the games and you have at least a little bit, obviously as we're going through this, through the story of this movie, you'll have to let me know how much of this you think, like, is it directly pulled from this, or is it pulling from a whole bunch of games and trying to make its own thing?
This is what I will say, having seen the movie. I think the movie's boring. I don't like any of the characters because they didn't do anything to make me like them, besides me as a meta viewer being like, who am I going to make fun of on the show? I'll like them. You know what I mean? Besides shit like that, I thought the movie was very boring. But compared to every other video game movie we watched, this is the closest to the games. This isn't following any of the stories at all. But it's just the idea of there is a town called Silent Hill. What that even means changes in the games.
Okay.
You could argue that the thing that is the most consistent in the Silent Hill games, the thing that actually would tie them all together, is one of the joke endings, how the whole time it was just corgis flying a UFO fucking with you. As the joke ending of, like, actually we're alien dogs and we've been fucking with this town. None of the shit was real. Goodbye. That's like a running joke, and that's the only thing that's like consistent in any of them. But
So
I will say this is the closest to being like the games that it's based off of, just because it has a lot of the vibe, mood, and there are shots that remind me straight up of playing Silent Hill 2.
Okay.
When she's running down the middle of the street in an empty, foggy town, that's Silent Hill 2. And also Silent Hill 1. But to me, that's
okay,
Silent
because I was
Hill
going to
2.
ask, like
the way the camera is shot, it's pulled back, so she's small, like a video game character. But, like that pulled back in
I was
going
going
to
say
everything's
there
empty.
is some video game shots in this, which we kind of saw in Resident Evil, which they purposely did, where like the camera's in the corner of like a hallway as the character is going underneath it and walking, which you don't normally see in movies at all.
There is in that hotel when they find the pieces on the floor. They're like, oh, you grabbed this from the school, and then okay, we open up the mailbox or whatever for the rooms. Before they show her open up the mailbox, they show that area from one angle. When they run back through that area later, it's from the same angle again. So that's kind of like just like it would be in Resident Evil. Silent Hill games, they didn't do like a freeform camera. Silent Hill 2 was 2001, so it was like year one of PlayStation 2. But it wasn't exactly like the tight corridors because you were in a city, you were in a town. But yeah, it still had that same. It didn't straight up remind me of that until they came back later. I'm like, oh, this is the same angle. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was gonna say is like I said, I didn't play any of the Silent Hill games, but when I do think of Silent Hill, I do think of this movie. Even though I've seen screenshots and a little bit of gameplay, being on the internet and being involved with video games, and like maybe that's why I have kind of a different opinion on it, because I'll say I like this movie, and I still think I like this movie for some reasons. I guess I would say because I'm such a big horror fan that I think there's some things in this that I think are good, that I'm glad that they stuck with and didn't try to do something different. But as we go through, I guess I'll kind of point them out. But yeah, I was just curious about the source material because, like I said, I didn't play any of the games, so I was like, is it always a foggy town? Is it always there's a fire burning at the bottom of the town or whatever?
Silent Hill 1, it was simply fog. In the remake of Silent Hill 1, it was a snowstorm. But then Silent Hill 2 is also just fog.
So it wasn't ash like this is. Ash/fog.
Not in those two games. I never played 3 and 4, and I never beat 2 or either version of 1. I would love to.
So Silent Hill is kind of like a Twilight Zone.
It's a concept, in a sense.
Okay.
But it is a town, yeah. But I will get to it when we get to it. But there is one very unfortunate direct, this is from the game thing that they put in the movie that I think is lame, and they could have done something else to replace it that could have made it more. Because, if you look at Silent Hill franchise as an anthology, this movie could be another chapter in the anthology. So instead of literally pulling from Silent Hill 2 for this one thing, do something like it, because you also did something like that in Silent Hill 4. That's like Silent Hill 2, which we'll get to when we get to it. So like you could have done something else, but
gotcha.
So we start off with the movie, and we see a very loving family. Do we see all three of them at once? Or
No,
is it just
I think it starts with mom yelling for
the running. Okay, yeah,
yeah. They're just. It starts pretty quick. Like it kind of just throws you into like an action scene like right away.
Rose,
which is
our lead,
which is the wife of Christopher, and then Sharon,
Sean Bean.
You have Sean Bean, and then you have Sharon, who is the daughter, who runs away, or is sleepwalking, but they're looking for her. And at first, maybe you think she ran away.
If an adult
or
can't catch up to her, she's sleep running. She's
sleep running.
She's sleep triathloning. I will say it was funny. Maybe 5 minutes into the movie, I pause it to go do something or whatever, and I also watched an Amazon Prime Video because it was free on Prime. And the X-ray thing popped up, and I saw, there's a character named Chris. Because I didn't know that the husband was named Chris. You know what I mean? But you could assume because it shows you the relevant people who are in around. It's played by Sean Bean. I'm like, oh, it's Sean Bean. I guess I know what happens to him then. Because he dies in all of his movies.
Yeah.
But not this one.
Not this
so
one.
I'm like, it was like a twist for me. I'm like, oh, he must die.
Oh, by the way, did you know the
instead
actor,
everyone else does?
You know how on the show everything always ties in together, whether we want it to or not.
Do one of these people cause 9/11?
No, what? No, one of these people was in Pitch Black. The main
kid?
No, the main woman.
Wait, she was the main woman in Pitch Black?
Yes.
That's how I recognize her.
I didn't realize it until halfway through the movie where I was looking on IMDb, and then I was like, oh, this is... Oh. And I'm like, I totally forgot everything about Pitch Black, even though we only watched it 2 months ago. But yeah. So everything ties back in. Chronicles of Diesel.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, this guy's going to die. He's probably going to get lost in Silent Hill, and then she's going to have to sacrifice him in order to save their child, and he's going to agree to it or some shit like that. But I was pleasantly surprised that instead of him dying, everyone else does. So,
we owe him one. We owe him one.
We owe him one.
Yeah.
I just remember, this is spoilers, but like one of the movies we'll watch coming up ahead is based off a video game, and a character dies. It's a prequel to the movie is a prequel to a game, and that character dies at the beginning of the game, and so the movie is about that character up until he dies. And they picked Sean Bean specifically because he dies in his movies. So I'm like, they just can't give him a break. Does he even care? I mean, he dies in Lord of the Rings. He dies, so everywhere. So they're running, and we get this beautiful shot of the little girl Sharon standing over this giant fucking cliff. How the hell did she get there? Because from the angles that they show it, it's like a video game thing where you need to double jump to get there
or something. Yeah. She went in the street or something because they showed like a bridge, so she must have crossed the bridge.
She was running under the underpass. Maybe there was like a water drainage pipe in there, and then she kind of military crawled through. But we see a shot where she is on a cliffside, looking over the water, being like, "Home."
E.T. phone home.
Exactly. And then Rose runs up on the same parallel of the cliff, but a lower section that is stand-onable, but there's rocky wall in between the two of them. But she could still see them. Her.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't, essentially, what the fuck are you doing? Stop. You know what I mean? And then we zoom in on Sharon, the child, and she's like, blah, blah, blah. And then we see a pretty cool shot of like, instead of just the river or whatever is down there, it becomes like the burning kind of buildings. There's like an ad infinitum kind of zooming.
Hell. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then all of a sudden, Sharon is tackled by Rose. Like,
I was going to say, that was a linebacker tackle. Like, I watched a lot of football. That was a clean hit. And one of the best hits I've ever seen in the game. She came out. I'm actually surprised she didn't like break her kid's back, because she's like, boom! She comes out of nowhere, and you're asleep when it happens too. Like, Jesus Christ!
Would you rather have a broken back or be dead? So one could argue with the finances of this country, you would rather be dead. But
the ambulance bill.
Yeah. Then we cut. I don't know how long this has been in between, but Sharon and Rose are at a beautiful tree in the field, and Sharon is drawing. She's got one piece of paper she's drawing on. And she's got some crayons or whatever. I'm sure she has multiple. Obviously, there's multiple colors. Rose walks up and she's like, "Oh, wow. Did you draw that? Like, what? Do you think she found it somewhere?" Yeah, she drew it.
It's a parenting thing. It's just a way to ask, like, "Hey, I see your drawing. Let me not just be like,
shit sucks."
Yeah, like, it's just a conversation starter. Kids are
unless
dumb
you can start selling
together.
these on Etsy, you're not contributing to the family. You become a lawyer like your father.
Do you see this economy? We gotta do something. You gotta start cranking those out faster. I was gonna say during during the scene is the first, like, I want to say that the soundtrack reminds me a little bit of Resident Evil, but a little bit slower, a lot more moodier, and I did like it a lot. Maybe not the same level as Resident Evil's soundtrack. Resident Evil movie, by the way, for people getting confused.
Yeah.
And during the scene, there was like this like very simple like synth where it was like bum bum, like it's doing that, and I really loved that. I don't know why.
So
it's simplistic, but I like it a lot. It's very video gamey in a way.
I don't know where these are all in the movie, besides the final one that was in the credits, but there's like 5 or 6 songs straight up from the Silent Hill games.
Maybe that was one of them.
The movie.
Maybe that was one of them then. Because it
The
did
very
sound
final
so
song-
video gamey.
Well, I mean, the very final song in the credits, which is a guitar, like electric guitar.
Yeah.
It's a good song. That's how I recognized it. 'Cause, I know this. I'm like, I'm trying to think like, I didn't realize it was from the game. But then, they showed the song credits at the end, and I'm like, Theme of Laura or whatever it was called, like Silent Hill 2 on YouTube. Like, oh yeah, that's the song. So there's like 5 or 6 of them in the game. That might have been a movie score because they're not do 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 in the game. You know what I mean? So but like, very very late 90s, early 2000s, obviously because of the era of the games. But so yeah, that might have been one. But yeah, so then Rose is like, oh, we need to, we're gonna take you to Silent Hill. You kept saying Silent Hill, and so I'm gonna take you there. And somehow this child, this fucking Sherlock Holmes, this Edna Holmes, deduces that the father's not coming with her because Rose got a call and she immediately hung up. She's like,
yeah, they kind of
Dad's
briefly
not
say,
coming?
They briefly say at one point that like Chris didn't want them to.
Yeah, no shit.
Which I'm kind of on his side.
Let's take her to a therapist.
And at this
it doesn't
point,
have
at
to
this
be
point
like
in the movie too. We don't know that she's adopted, right? Either.
Right.
And if you know that your kid's adopted and probably came from maybe possibly a rough situation, and they're like having these episodes, and your idea is, maybe they've had trauma. Let's bring them to the place of trauma. That sounds smart, and not tell anyone, or not tell my husband.
Yeah,
very bad parenting. Very bad parenting.
Yeah,
in my
I
opinion.
mean,
at least consult a
that's
therapist.
child endangerment.
Yeah, at least consult a therapist to come with you or something.
It's not like Sean Bean's jump was lock her up in a psychiatrist ward. Like, no. Like, you can have someone talk to her. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Did she?
Like,
I feel like he did say something about.
He said a hospital.
Yeah, I guess like a mental.
That
It could be a mental
doesn't
hospital,
mean
but
that doesn't mean bind it up, put in a room for hours. No, you know what I mean. The kid can't leave the room.
But you can argue video games and just like fantasy storytelling that like it's fate. So maybe that no matter what, she would have been brought back to Silent Hill.
Well,
anyways.
at least wait until the fate is not their problem when she's 18 and she can live on her own. If you want to go die in Silent Hill, go for it, but not when we're paying taxes to keep you here.
We're complaining about everything tonight. We have taxes and complaining about healthcare. God damn it, Silent Hill. You probably can live there for free. As long as you're a cultist.
I'll fucking complain about Konami too, because they won't make any more of these.
Well, aren't they making a new one though?
That's rumored. That's rumored. That is not confirmed, and I don't even know if I believe it. But maybe. I guess it's topical, whatever. Rumor is that Sony approached Konami and said, hey, we want to make a Silent Hill game. Can you license it to us, essentially? That's essentially what it was.
Silent Hill, the movie, the game.
Ratchet and Clank, the movie, the game.
Anything is possible.
And that's on our list. We'll get there eventually. Not anytime soon. The movie's terrible, it seems. I platinumed the game. Anyway, now we're in the car. Sean Bean was asleep or something.
Yeah, she just ditched Brent. Yeah, ditched.
That is, like, she can lose custody of the child. And,
she does a lot of illegal shit in this film.
Some quite literally, and some is like, if she were to get caught and put on trial, you would be like, yes, whatever. So we're driving. She needs to stop and get gas, and it's one of those weird gas stations that is a diner you pay at,
and a tattoo. There's a tattoo parlor as well.
Yeah,
it had everything, man. Why would you ever not want to live anywhere else but in that gas station?
I guess it's small town. That's the one thing. Like,
it was in Brahms, West Virginia.
Yep.
Which I looked up and isn't real, unfortunately.
Really? Well, who knows? Maybe it's on just on the border, and Silent Hill is just on the border in West Virginia. Maybe they didn't live in West Virginia, but there's one weird thing. Like, I get, yeah, Sean Bean and Rose are rich because their house is beautiful. You know what I mean? And if anyone can adopt a child in this economy, they must have a lot of money. But do we need a lot of, like, oh, you're a city boy, big city boy, think you can walk down here? Just, like, random shit thrown out like that. It was really weird to me that was the angle they went. But there is a moment where after she pays, and then the police officer lady, whose name I forget, what was...
Shit, I forgot to write that down. I'll get it for you in a sec. But I just
And
want to
she's
say,
walking over.
I just want to say that if all cops dress like that, I'd respect them more.
See, I didn't know who the actor was for unnamed cop lady. But like when it was just
Sybil?
like
Sybil,
Sybil, that's the name.
Cybil. Lori Holden
Sybil
plays her.
Yeah, for a second I'm like, is that I completely blanked on the name. Brie Larson. And for a second I'm like, because when it was just sitting,
I feel like she would be on the. If she was in it, she'd be one of the.
Yeah, but
headlines.
she wasn't that big. She wasn't big at that time.
That's fair, I guess.
I mean, Sean Bean isn't listed as the lead. You know what I mean? And he was in Lord of the Rings, popular movie. After she's going in to pay for the gas, she walks in the diner and like everyone turns to look at her as she's walking through, as if like she did something wrong.
I think maybe she's just an outsider and they can tell.
It's just a weird jump of conclusions.
And they definitely have money too. Like at the very end of the film, you finally see inside their way too modern house that actually made me mad. I'm just like, what are you doing with this house? You guys need to add something. It's just all white, and then you have a red accent wall. I was like, come on, guys. Put some posters in there.
They don't even have a bedroom. Sean Bean sleeps on the couch at the end of the movie.
When you're that rich, it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter.
That's what I was saying. Was like, yeah, I get that they're rich, but like the movie kept saying like, oh, you come from the big city. You're one of these big city people. It was like, this is what Hicks think that rich people do, is they live in big cities. Like, no, they find a big chunk of land somewhere in like Delaware or Pennsylvania. Yeah, that's where they build their house. You know what I mean? That they don't rent, because in this economy, only the top 1.5% get to own a house.
Wow, we both said at the same time. That was weird.
She wants to go in the car. Cop lady Sybil is like, yo, you can't do this? But like, she's like, no, I need to drive my car. She's like, your kid was screaming earlier. And I'm like, yeah, and as the mother, I was consoling her. And that's why you were suspicious of me? Weird. In any case...
Oh, I forgot to say one last thing. When Sean Bean is trying to find out where his wife and kid are at, he looks up ghosttownsofamerica.com. I tried looking it up, and it is available for sale. So if we want to buy it,
really,
have it reroute to the Sonic movie show.
And then, if Sean Bean is on Cameo, we can have him recreate the scene for us. I can learn HTML5.
I think he just looks it up. Oh, you want him to you want him to look it up and it reroutes the Sonic movie show somehow?
Yeah, exactly. I can learn HTML5. I can make a website. It's a lot easier than people think. It's just the paywall of having to constantly pay for it, like we do for this show, which is expensive. In any case, she gets on the car. She's starting to drive. Sean Bean's like, "Where the fuck is my kid?" And he's looked it up. He's like, "Yeah, like." Lady didn't cover her tracks, just like Sybil says later. Rose leaves her MacBook open with the website that says we're... You know what I mean? It's like, come on. If you're trying to ditch this man...
She's on the run, dude. She was quick.
Cover your tracks.
Gotta look it up quick.
So, she's driving, and for some reason, Sybil starts to pull her over.
I think because she stole the gas.
No, she paid with cash.
Oh. Never mind. I think that she knew because she had a different license plate and that she was just being sketchy and the kid was being annoying. It's still a weird thing, but hey, cops do it all the time in real life. They pull people over without any reason.
And you know what's really sketchy is when you pull someone over and you park like 10 car lengths away and you slowly walk over, flashing your light at the car. And then you just, instead of walking to the window being like, I need your license or registration, you just pan the flashlight through the back windows of the car slowly. You know what I mean? That's just not how you do it. So yeah, it's Rose is correct for just speeding off, like, fuck this bullshit.
She said
You know what I
ACAB
mean?
actually as she was flooring it.
She did. Never answer questions from the police. Ask if you're being detained or if you're free to go. They don't need to discuss your day with these people. You leave. So she does. And then she crashes because she's dumb. There was a very convenient sign that just said, Silent Hill's this way if you want to go. So she did. She crashes, wakes up, and it's all foggy because of the ash.
Her airbag didn't go off, by the way.
No, there's someone, for all their money, they didn't want to use the recall that the car probably
Well, I
had
guess
for
maybe,
that.
I guess maybe like, once the airbag goes off, it's still drivable, right? Like,
I mean, yeah.
I guess maybe they like to make it less awkward. They just didn't have the airbag go off. I guess maybe she didn't hit something like in the front. So I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how cars work.
I'm
so
pretty
I can't
sure
really...
her front left light side, that corner of the front of the hood of the dash or whatever, hit a rail, and then she smashed her forehead on the airbag. That would have set off, or on the steering wheel. That she hit her head on the steering wheel because of that. It should have set off the airbag.
Maybe the husband
the multiple airbags
took out the airbag just in case. Like,
if she ever tries to steal my kid, I'll make sure the kid dies on the way there. She wakes up. Passenger car door is open, and Sharon's gone, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And so she starts like looking around, screaming. And this is where she starts to enter the empty town. This is where we get some of that Silent Hill kind of imagery, and she goes through a chain link fence or something. She goes down an alleyway,
and then it gets dark, and the air raid siren.
Yep.
Which is, when it first happens, is super eerie and creepy. An air raid siren is, I mean, obviously with historical purposes, hearing an air raid siren usually means you're under attack or bombs. So I guess that's scary alone, but when
it's
you're
a creepy factor when there's no one else to respond to it and it's just you, and it's like, but what does this mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And like, who's doing it? Yeah, there's a lot more questions and answers, and it's also just an eerie sound. And also, like, on TikTok there you have Air Raid Man. Did you ever see that?
No.
It's this giant, like, air raid monster that, like, does the air raid siren, and it, like, runs through the city.
Yeah.
Spooky, man.
It's just like the gigantic, like, skyscraper tall, slow dancing alien in the TikTok videos.
Yes.
I was pantomiming the dance he does. In any case, yeah, and so she goes in there, and then the world is starting to crack and fry and fizzle and pop, and then all of these Silent Hill-looking type of shambly naked boys, are chasing her.
They remind me more of, like, babies without... They didn't have any arms, right? So they're kind of just, like...
Yeah,
they're like arms. Molten babies.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's typical. Like, that's kind of what... Like, it's not zombies in Silent Hill, it's that kind of shit. So... that checks out, and then she escapes, and then they all go away, and then she stops questioning that as if it happened or not. But I guess there's no one to bounce that off of yet.
Yeah, maybe you're like,
she does find someone.
Okay, I got in a car accident, and maybe I'm just in a coma now, and this is all hallucination.
Yeah, because I guess, to be fair, if you were going to hallucinate anything, I guess that would be something you would hallucinate, because it's not like any of them actually touched her. She didn't have anyone to talk to, and then she does. She bumps into the homeless woman.
She's like, yeah, like very witch-looking.
Yeah, outcasted.
Which we find out later on is the mother of
Alyssa,
who is actually her daughter too, kinda. Yes.
Yeah. So when that happens, and she's like, Rose is running. She gets to the end of the world, essentially, the edge of the world. Where the town should end and the rest of the world begins, but so you don't realize that we're in like a purgatory. This is where the damned are. And she meets the witch lady, the outcast woman, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm looking for my Sharon. Have you seen her? Here's a picture." And then Outcast is like, "No, she's mine. She's mine." And at this point, we've already known that she's adopted and that she's from, like, this place or whatever. Yes, okay, grabby outcast woman, dirty, disgusting old lady, you know what I mean, starts grabbing at you, yeah, okay, yes, reaction should be push her off, take a step back. But my first reaction after seeing that is like, wouldn't you want to be like, did she put up for adoption? Like, how did it work? Because, like, it would have... I'm already fucking here in hell. Like, something, you know what I mean? This isn't a crazy coincidence to be like, maybe this is the same person, you know what I mean? That we could be talking about the same person, you know? But instead it's like, okay, she runs away. She runs back to her car. She finds a drawing of a school that's in the passenger seat that wasn't there before. And then Sybil runs up. Because Sybil, even though she had a helmet on, got knocked out longer. Because she also crashed her bike.
Yeah, she was further down. I think, like, it made it seem like it was like a mile or so away. But yeah, she crashed, I guess, too. And I guess if you're going into the whole, like, fate kind of argument for this movie, not argument, but just interpretation, is that, like, why is she involved when she really has no connection at all to Silent Hill except for, like, she lives nearby and is a cop? You know what I mean? So I find that interesting.
Nothing she does that says that, but when we jump back and forth to Sean Bean's side of the story and the angry detective or officer or whatever, he's the one that's giving Sybil some sort of backstory. Be like, yes, she was very protective of this boy who fell down a mine shaft or something like that.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess that's true.
But it's
so like, I guess she does have some sort of connection to it. But in a weird... This is where I always found it kind of confusing. Even when I was younger, when I was watching this, there's a lot more stuff that made more sense to me as I was older now. But, like, I was like, okay, so do I need to get knocked out to enter the Silent Hill zone? Like, is that required? Or do I have to, like, they're dead, so, like, I have to actually die? Because, like, those injuries that they got aren't necessarily fatal unless, like, you really had to smash your face in really bad into a steering wheel, I think, to die. Like, it wasn't like she only had, like, a cut on her face.
Yeah.
And usually when you cut your face, you bleed a lot more, even if it's not that bad. So the fact that it was even like a minor cut and she was bleeding, I'm like, okay, she didn't even hit her head that hard.
See, I don't know if she died or not. My first reaction was like, okay, fate or whatever has decided she is going to enter this realm. You pass out when you do or whatever, and that's just kind of how I kind of figured it. Because it was not completely shocking to me, but at the very end of the movie when like, oh yeah, the two of them are dead and Sean Bean isn't, you know what I mean? There are moments where they're both in Silent Hill, but in different planes of existence, I guess.
Yeah.
But my assumption was like, it's an ethereal kind of shit, not necessarily literally ghosts. But
see,
if that makes sense, then I guess that if that works, then that makes sense. But
that's what I assume, is that they both died, but they're trapped between Silent Hill normally is a purgatory realm, and I guess you could say a loose purgatory realm, and then when the siren goes off, it's hell. Hence the peeling and stuff. That's kind of how I've interpreted it. Yeah, but
it's also a weird type of purgatory where you can also die. You know what I mean? Like, those people at the end, they die.
So yeah, it's like you only have either an option to stay in purgatory or go to hell.
Yeah.
Or
you pick purgatory.
Yeah. And what's weird is that there's no way to get back to the living that we know of, I guess. Technically, I guess I know there's like not a sequel movie to this, but there was another film.
Yeah, there is.
So I have no idea if it's connected to this, but
I mean, she kind of does at the end. She just can't interact with that world, and they're just ghosts forever.
I just think they're in purgatory outside of Silent Hill. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. How crazy if like that hell kind of peeling stuff happens regardless of where you are.
Oh my
Silent Hill is just a town. It has nothing to do with Silent Hill.
You're in like New York City or something.
They're just hanging out in the house. Sean Bean is there, and all of a sudden the world around them turns to hell, and Sean Bean obviously
their accent wall that's red now becomes like a gray.
Blue.
Yeah.
No,
I worked hard on
that. I spent all day painting. I had to buy that blue tape.
I didn't hire anybody because the mortgage on this is super expensive. I had to do it myself.
We can afford it. The real hell is America, and the purgatories.
Yeah, it just peels away, and
it.
it's just, oh, you're in Trump's America. Congrats.
We need to like be stepping through this. So okay, she's handcuffed. Then bloater zombie dude shoots. Okay, Rose starts running.
Yeah, she just
away
ditches
from Sybil.
the cop again, which in my opinion is dumb. Like, yes, you're handcuffed, but this is the first person you know from the outside world that you've seen, and only the second person you've seen.
Period.
What seems like 24 hours. So, yeah, maybe you shouldn't run. And she has
a gun. She's not going to shoot you, but she can keep you safer from the zombos, but from the monsters. She's running. She makes it to the school. She's still handcuffed, but she gets the cuffs out to be in front of her. She just goes into the school. I kind of was zoning in and out. I was kind of checking my phone. So I don't know how she finds the hotel piece, but she finds this piece of
she
goes
the
hotel.
She goes to the school first. She runs.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
no, because the painting that she had, the picture that she had the school on it, so she knew that.
I know.
Okay,
so I'm saying she's following to the school. In the school, she finds a piece of the hotel.
Yeah, it was like a collectible.
And I don't remember how.
It was in the mouth of the pedophiliac.
That's right.
Janitor.
That's right.
Which we didn't know was a pedophile until much later on in the film. We just thought he was a creepy dude in barbed wire. Which, by the way, is like, I just find that metal as fuck. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And scary. I like nothing is
Do you
scarier
consider
than like
pedophilia
that type of
metal as fuck?
Yeah, nothing is scarier and like not scarier, but in a good like when I was talking about Saw earlier, you need to use things that are like when someone gets shot in a movie, like you can't really relate to that. When someone gets stabbed by like a screwdriver, you know what a screwdriver is like. Most people have not been shot, so they don't get that pain. But when you have like barbed wire, you know what barbed wire looks like. Maybe you've held barbed wire before, so like to see like a dude like strapped up in barbed wire, just like ooh,
yeah. No one really can relate to ballistics, Yeah, but a serration, yes. Yeah, she's going through there, and then we see like the fucking hell gas from Killzone or whatever are in there, and they chase her, but she has a key ring full of keys, and she locks the door, and this old fucking wooden door can't be knocked down by a bunch of big dudes, whatever. She's running. After she gets out of the school, the world goes to shit again, and she sees all these bugs. And then who comes out of the door with this gigantic sword? Do you know who this person is?
Pyramid Head, yeah.
Pyramid Head, yes. Who is, I wouldn't call him the villain of Silent Hill 2, but he is the iconic thing from Silent Hill 2.
The big bad scary guy.
Yeah, which there are beautiful essays, both video and written form, all about Pyramid Head and symbolism and metaphor and how he fucking works in the game. And if you dissect that, it's like he's not actually there to get you at all. It's just coincidentally in your way, you're in his way, all that kind of stuff. Is he literally about like perversion and dominating, like in a sexual manner, victims? Yeah, like all of the other monsters, what he does to them in the game. I wouldn't
say in this film, at least, he hasn't shown
not in this
that.
film. That's the thing, is they just took him as a villain or as a thing to chase and scare you. But like there are some beautiful stuff. I recommend people look up about Silent Hill 2 and why I think it's such a perfect game, even though I haven't beaten it.
He's also in.
It's like he's in here.
Pyramid Head's a playable character in Dead by Daylight.
Of course, everyone's favorite. Do people like that or no?
Yeah, people like that. People don't like the Jason ones, the Jason game, and
no, people love Friday the 13th.
I hear the opposite. I hear everyone's like, no, if you play Friday the 13th and don't like Dead by Daylight, you're dumb. That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I know a lot more people who play Dead by Daylight than.
I guess I'm not.
And I've tried Friday the 13th personally, and I couldn't get into it.
Well,
I have it on PlayStation.
In any case, so he chases her a bit, and then the world goes back to normal or something. they are on their way to the hotel because
Well,
Sybil catches up to her.
Yeah, Sybil found her as she's like basically having like an episode, like a holy fuck, what, this has been the craziest like day ever. There's beetles, scarabs, there's barbed wire man, now there's a pyramid head man. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, she's just going to a state of shock, and then like right when the scarab's about to take her away, like in The Mummy, Sybil comes and saves her, and they get trapped in this room, and they like lock themselves in, trying to just, I guess, survive as long as they can. They didn't really have like an idea of where to go after that, but Pyramid Head attacks them, puts the giant.
Well, that's what's cool is the sword goes through the door effortlessly, and you could argue that that's lame, but I thought that was actually, cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like a slasher horror kind of like trope there, where like
if you wanted to show that this isn't just a normal monster, this thing is able to destruct things that others cannot. You know what I mean? It's like nowhere to run kind of a sense.
Even just like the idea of being trapped in a room and you're knowing you're probably fucked. And like The Shining does that. He's cutting through the door with an axe. I think even there's been plenty of moments, I think, in Friday the 13th where the character's in a room and he's trying to get in. Halloween does that with Jamie Lee Curtis in the closet as he's in the, he's about to break open the closet, stuff like that. So it's kind of, I just saw it as
the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, does that when all the clones are, so then they Sybil just shoots Pyramid Head's arm a couple times, and he's like, "Ow!" And then the beetles die, but they have little human faces.
Well, they die because the clock, like the
world goes back to normal.
Yeah, I was going back to normal. So he's like, "Okay, I go back now. My shift's over. I still get paid regardless." So
we're at the hotel now. We go in, first floor. We see outcast ladies getting yelled at by Anna, a member of this cult, as we know. They're in that room that we mentioned earlier with the one shot in the hotel lobby, I guess would be, because that's where the mail would be. The outcast runs away. They decide we'll keep Anna with her.
One thing I wanted to talk about in terms of that cult, when she was in the school, they did like a quick pan of like the paintings in the school, and I didn't pick up until like the very last painting that all the paintings were women. So like this cult is definitely more of like
patriarchal,
yeah, but in the sense of women are in charge. Maybe not women in charge, but God is a woman. Ariana Grande.
I hate Ariana Grande.
Don't be a hater.
No, I will be a hater.
But I just find that interesting, considering like when you think of Catholicism and witchcraft. Yeah, women are
Salem witch trials is heavily is what is used here.
Yeah, but I just find it interesting that it's like, but it's all women who are in charge of this cult. I just thought that was cool, and I want to say that now that I think about it, all the characters but Sean Bean are like the main characters are all women, and I think that's cool, a cool concept considering like even the evil people are women and your main characters are women. I guess maybe there's some sort of.
And how many of these women live, Devin? None. That's why the patriarchy needs to be enacted.
Yeah. No, I just wonder if like there's something
for their own good.
There's something there that possibly the director was trying to do. I don't know if it. Clearly, I don't know what that is, so maybe they didn't do a good job of that. But I found it interesting that the religion is
horror movie tropes too of the last girl kind of a thing.
Yeah, I just like the idea of. I just like the idea of like this cult of. Well, there is men in the town or whatever, or like that are in the cult, but I just like the idea that. It's instead of God being this white male, it's this woman or multiple women deity, possibly.
Oh, it's just as the line that said like 2 or 3 times in the movies, "Mother is God in the eyes of a child."
Yeah, I just like that. It's an interesting concept. Women create life. Blah blah blah.
Yes, we need to zip through this. So Anna's with them. Rose gets a really long letter opener knife. Kind of thing. We see, all these collectibles are in a pile right here. We look at the mail. There's another drawing. It's in room 111's mailbox. Let's go there. It's a drawing of a witch getting burned.
Sick.
They go up the stairs. There is no room 111. Yes, it's behind this giant painting of a woman being burned, a witch being burned. Like, very direct clues, but at the same time, if you wanted to recreate this in real life, I feel like that's not enough clues for some people to have to think like, oh wow, it's in room 111 and there's the same painting. I would love to have done that in real life. Live in purgatory. In any case, they open up their door and it's like the hotel is like all destroyed. You know what I mean? So there's like the floor in the center is broken, and then the floor below that's broken, and then broken and broken. If anyone's played The Last of Us Part 2, just throwing that out there. Similar thing in there. You're not knowingly nodding, so I have no idea if you understand or not.
No,
but,
I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rose sees Sharon on the other side of this chasm, this unnatural chasm in the hotel. She almost falls, stumbles over.
She didn't do the quick time events well enough, clearly.
No. None of the Sybil and Anna do not see anyone over there, and they see Rose recklessly, carelessly, and quickly scramble across these thin metal beams to get to nothing. None of them try to stop, say anything, or whatever.
Well,
but obviously they want to show.
First, and then when she got across, and like, I think because at one point she screams, and then they come up and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I
obviously
have
they wanted to show that they can't see Sharon."
Yeah.
Who is over there crying to lure Anna or lure Rose over, which Rose does, and then all of a sudden, no, I'm creepy child. I'm Rose like, you must be Alyssa, essentially. Yeah, I will say this child actor is much better of an actor, and well, she is better at acting seriously than acting like a child. Because on all those, like, I'm a sweet little girl, I'm like, you are unconvincing as fuck. Did they find you off the street that morning? Who are you? And like here, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you know,
I think she was a little older
that.
Than the age she was trying to play.
For sure.
Like, she was like, to me, I'm like, oh, you're like 9 or 10, but you're acting like you're 5.
You're acting as aloof as someone that is like 5, yeah. And which, of course, you could read into like maybe this child has like autism or you know something, or it's like, hey, we definitely need to be like talking to someone about this, not indulging in this suicidal dash towards a town in West Virginia. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
that is known to be haunted.
A hero, exactly. Everyone died there 40 years ago. Speaking of 40 years ago, we learn about all that kind of stuff, or at least most of it here, is kind of like alluding to, because like they also talk to Anna, like, hey, what's going on, and blah, blah, blah. But then the world is starting to go to shit. And Anna's like, we need to go now. We're so far away from Sanctuary. Let's fucking go. So they do. They run back down the hotel really quickly, which is cool. Like, just they could have spent so many long shots of them running through the hotel, and they don't, which I'm glad, because none of that would have been important for what they wanted. So I appreciated that. We're back to the lobby at the same camera angle. Oh, they're running. They get to the church. Everyone is filing in now, even though the alarm has been going on for minutes, probably at this point. You know, why are you too far away? This clearly happens like 7 times a day. Don't stray too far away from the church. But everyone's going in there, but the outcast is there, I think, just to yell at them.
Yeah, I think...
Hey, don't give in to your fear. Your faith is your fear.
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about how she's living out there. Because she makes it seem as if she's one with it, but at the same time, like, no, she's not.
The one, not lost girl, Anna there was saying... that like not even hell wants her or something like that. So, but then we find out it's because she's the mother and hell won't touch her because hell is run by Anna. Alyssa. Sorry.
Yeah.
So that explains it. But I guess at that point in the movie, you're like, wait, yeah, why doesn't she get her, or why doesn't Pyramid Head go for her?
Yeah, because Anna throws a rock at Outcast as they're filing in, and of course Rose and Sybil are being pulled between the two, and it's like last minute they decide, no, we are going into the church. But like, yeah, I mean, like Anna was about to throw another rock, and as hell has basically started, and I think Pyramid Head is shown here, and Outcast like looks at her with like intent.
She literally does
what
the
happens?
Ronnie James Dio heavy metal like
I didn't even notice that.
Devil hand towards her, and then Pyramid Head like spawns directly behind her and then just grabs her,
rips her clothes off, and then rips her skin off, and she dies.
Yeah, it was like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah.
There is 2 Mortal Kombat fatalities, I feel like, in this movie, and that was the first one.
We're inside the church. All the church going people are like, these are witches because they're women and they're outsiders, I guess.
Well, they also came in with blood all over them because Pyramid Head literally just ripped the skin off as they were closing the door. So it's just like blood all over them. Yeah, and they're outsiders, and they were talking with Outcasts. So
yeah, which it is going to be the group Outcast is how I picture her now from now on. In any case, yeah, so we get exposition. We meet the leader of this cult. Faith, this, that. We do a prayer, and then coincidentally or reaction to it, the prayer ends and the hell leaves.
I think maybe they have the ability to like push it off. I kind of read it as that, where they kind of push it off for a time being, but it's only a matter of time before hell comes back again.
Right. Yeah, so like, if you want to find, your daughter and blah blah blah, if you want to fight or find, we'll take you to where you can do that. She's down there, this hospital, I think it was at. Yeah, it was a hospital, yeah. We can go down there. You're gonna die, but this is what you want, go for it. You're not one of us.
Christabella, by the way, like immediately red flags. I'm just like, she's
what's she been in? Do you know?
Alice Krige is her name. Krige?
Yeah.
She's been in Star Trek First Contact. She's the Borg Queen. She's in Thor the Dark World. She's his mother.
That's who I recognize her as, yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, she's creepy. But yes, this is kind of jumping ahead. They're about to go down the elevator, but then because what'd you say her name was? Annabella? Christabella?
Christabella, yeah.
Christabella. So for some reason, Rose drops the locket of her daughter in the church.
Yeah.
And doesn't notice it, because then Christabella picks it up on their way out. And then as she's about to go down the elevator, she's like, maybe we were just scavengers for so long, it was second nature for me to keep this, but this belongs to you. Then it opens up, she sees, oh, it's Alyssa in there, this is a witch, kill her. And then Sybil pulls out her gun, and then basically yanks the crowbar down the elevator, sending Rose down on her own.
Yeah.
And we get like one of the first of like 3 or 4 of like, so this is how they'll show the shot right before we know Sybil dies. Nope, this isn't. Nope, this isn't. No, this isn't. I'm like, God damn, they hate this woman. This movie hates this woman.
Yeah, she gets like fucked up pretty bad.
And every single one of these, if you leave it, this last shot you show of her, if this was it, they get worse and worse.
Yeah, it's almost like I would have rather her get beat to death. You know what I mean? Like,
well, the first one was like when the elevator closes, I'm like, okay, it's implied she's not going to live. Cool. Nope. Then they show her getting beat the fuck up. Yeah. Then the burning later on.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus.
And I just want to give her some cred. We got to give her some cred because it started off as like her trying to pull her over or pull Rose over and stuff, and like
for child endangerment.
Yeah, and like I feel like she was trying to do all the right things the entire movie, and then even though Rose dragged her into this mess, she like stayed by her and was like, look, I know what you're trying to do now at this point, I'm gonna help you out. And like she winds up dying for it.
We need for this show, we need a meter called the ACAB meter.
Okay.
Are there any good cops? This argues that no, there aren't any because the good cops die.
Yeah.
Rest my case.
A real
cop
would follow you to purgatory and
and die.
Wow.
And well, so we've been following Rose's story. We should probably, as she's going straight down to hell, this elevator is going.
And
forever.
there's definitely like she's entering
a realm
because it like goes on forever, and you're like, okay, most hospitals are like maybe 5 stories, like a big hospital. Like, no,
she's on the first floor. This is an elevator going down. There's like maybe basement level 5. Maybe. And even then, that's insane.
Yeah. I used to work at a hospital in Baltimore, University of Maryland, and that's like a big-ass hospital. It had 5 floors, and then it had like 2 basement floors. And
exactly. Because you don't need multiple basements. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to build up than it is to maintain a basement. That's just how construction works. Yeah, so let's hop back over to Sean Bean and quickly catch up. He's basically trying to find where Rose and Sharon went. He finds Silent Hill. This cop doesn't want him to be there, but he's indulging in him, and they're walking through the town. That's why, like, the brief moment where Rose and Sean Bean are at the same point in reality, but not in the same plane of existence or whatever. They tell him, go fucking home, city boy. Your wife and child, which is the only people you ever known, and we know this because apparently we know all about you. We'll find them. Shut the fuck up. Go home.
Which is like, Can you blame Sean in this situation, really? You're being kind of an asshole for, like you said, only 2 people in his life possibly. Well, it's your wife and daughter, regardless, and they went missing. Sorry for being nosy, you know what I mean, or frantic. God forbid.
And
we got this, fam. Even though a couple years ago someone dropped a boy down into the fires below,
right?
And we didn't stop them. So yeah, sorry, I'm a little stressed.
So it's implied throughout here that the detective cop guy is bad. He's a bad guy. He knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah.
But eventually it's just he just knows that the daughter came from there and that she was fucked up.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah. Well, he was the one carrying her, right?
Something like
when
that.
They absolutely torched her into literally a burnt pizza crisp.
But you know what I mean? He wasn't.
He did make it seem like he was the one who was involved in.
Right. I mean, he's bad for not letting letting Sean Bean proceed.
Yeah.
He's obstructing his mission to save his fucking child. But
and at one point he breaks into the police office, gets information of what happened in Silent Hill. Then he goes to the orphanage where they got what's her name? Jesus Christ.
Sharon.
I keep getting them all switched now because they're technically the same person. But and I also just want to say with the orphanage, they're like, oh, you can't come here. We can't give you that information. Bullshit. When I adopt a kid from a shelter or whatever,
does this kid have his hepatitis C shot?
Yeah, I need to know information. I need to know if this kid has baggage so I can be a better parent.
Right.
Why does that to be news to me? Sean gets freaking cucked this entire entire movie, and then he still, in the end, he doesn't even get his wife or kid back.
No, and he will never know.
And he'll never know. But he's like, this house is getting chilly. What the fuck? I know they're here.
He always gets to live in a fucking cold house now.
Yeah,
that's what he gets. Yeah, so we've caught up with him.
So maybe
really. It's just a lot of that kind of shit.
So maybe Sean Bean, all his characters always die, but maybe this is a fate worse than death. He lost all his loved ones, and no one will help him.
It's true. In any case, I yawned away from the mic as if it wouldn't pick it up, but obviously it did. In any case, hopping back over to Rose. She finally lands down. She's been giving a giant industrial light, flashlight kind of thing.
And she studied the map before, which is impressive, by the way. I just took a picture of it with my phone Just me. Just want to save.
She has a flip phone with a bead chain for it. Like, I don't think the thing had a camera on it, but I mean, and also the directions was just left, right, left.
I would have forgot it. Under pressure, dude,
Left,
I would have
right.
I would have been lost in that maze.
I don't know.
But I guess I don't have a kid who's lost in hell, so maybe I would have figured it out.
She's given a light and told this will help you see, but it also directs her attention. She goes downstairs and sees all the sexy nurse costumes from Spirit Halloween. It's just down there.
Were those in the game at all? Any of the games do you know?
I don't think so.
I always thought they were. Like, I thought they were like, that was one of the things from, like, Pyramid Head and them were like the big.
Maybe. Again, like, I haven't beaten any of them and I haven't played all of them. Maybe, but to me it feels like a stretch.
I'm a fan of them.
Sure.
Nothing is scarier than something that is sexy, but will like cut me open like a pig.
Like Pyramid Head.
Pyramid Head's also sexy. I saw some abs.
Yeah. Yeah, she fools them. They end up basically killing each other. And she leaves the light there just to help distract them further in case they chase her. And she goes, and she finds the room with more people in it, her destination. And it is Sharon is there, a nurse is there, and basically, Alyssa, the voice of Alyssa, is basically like, hey, you deserve the truth. Your reward is the truth.
It's basically a cutscene.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
It was a bright light. It felt like such like a
transition.
Just like in Japanese games, I feel like they always have like a bright light and then like narration. Yeah.
Yeah. And Silent Hill 2 definitely used a lot of bloom lighting, especially with that fog. So yeah, basically what happened was that she was bullied as a kid, raped by the janitor, and then considered a witch
because her mom
never wanted to say who the dad was.
I think she was a to them a out of wedlock slut. You know what I mean? Just her mother was going around town. They don't even know who the dad is. That kind of thing. And in a super conservative town, it's bad to have sex, without your husband. So
it's true.
Without being married.
Sean Bean wasn't the only one getting cooked. What a terrible word. And perverted beyond belief by people that just want to make fun of people online. In any case, Alyssa was burned to death.
Or was sent to be burned to death. And the mom also, had to just give her up because if she didn't, she would die too. I was kind of assumed. And Christabella was there, and she was like, we're not going to punish the sinner, we're going to punish the sin. And, her daughter was, a sin or whatever.
Sure.
But they made it also seem like that she was, though, not demonic, but she was of evil descent, though, in a way that, which I thought was interesting that, maybe the religion is
correct.
but
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. In any case, attempting to start the fire accidentally burns the whole town down. Because that's irony, I guess. They all die instead. Everyone dies. And she lived. Because she was pulled out and lived. But then she started, I guess, Alyssa lived, rather. I should say who. Alyssa lives. She's brought out, but she's burned.
Yeah,
basically.
She was, like I said, burned it reminds me of, if you leave the pizza in too long, the bottom of that pizza.
Yeah.
That's her entire skin. And, I think she had a worser, burn than...
She was also bound.
Yeah. She had a worser burn than, Anakin Skywalker. Anakin as a kid, that scene where he's on fire, kind of fucked me up as a kid.
Okay.
Because the concept of being burned is scary. You burn your hand before, you're like, okay, imagine that on your whole body. Or if you had...
I mean, yeah.
If you had no sunscreen on a beach or something. Yeah,
as a pasty white guy, I know
she
that
definitely,
all
I think,
well.
would have been dead in real life. But this is where, like, the part, like I said, where they made it seem like she was
tapping into demonic shit.
Yeah.
She, like, hurt the nurse, killed the nurse or whatever.
For taking a look at her when she was all fucked up.
And she acknowledges was a bad thing to do, but she didn't control it. And this is what's confusing me, because when after this is over and they're back in that hospital room IRL, and Rose is like, "So you're Alyssa," and she's like, "No," implying that she's like the devil or a demon or something. And she says that the nurse is Alyssa. That's what confuses me.
No, I think she was saying. So, Sharon, whatever her name is, the kid, Sharon.
Yeah.
That was the good of Alyssa, and what she was now, the burned Alyssa was evil. And I think the nurse was just like, "Oh, I control you. Like, you have to take care of me forever." Because hell, like, that's for taking a look. The dialogue was a little confusing, I guess, but
okay,
that's how I interpret it. Was that
that's what I just assumed.
Sharon was made to represent the good, because there was good. Like, she didn't do anything wrong.
I mean, the cult calls the children innocent.
Yeah,
like as a proper noun, the innocent. So, like, yeah, I mean, there is that flip side of original sin is original innocence too. So yeah, whatever. Okay, so you're tasked with going back and helping me get my revenge. I'm gonna whoop into your body,
which I thought was kind of cool, actually. Like, I like the idea of, like, you just got like it's like in a video game where, like, you've probably done all the upgrades and, like, you're probably kicking ass a little bit, but then they give you, like, a weapon that is just god tier, and you're just like, on purpose, because you're about to, like, fight the final boss or something, and you're about to wipe out, all your enemies really easily. And I just like that they gave her kind of this, like, power up in a way. But also, just, it's a little bit different too, because usually in, like, horror films, interacting with evil is usually bad, and, like, in this way, it's seen as, oh, now we're about to go ham on these mofos, and you need some extra power behind you.
Well, it's also like she can't get there. Alyssa can't get there, but Rose can. So Rose is literally going to carry Alyssa like she was never able to literally carry Sharon in the womb. She's carrying Alyssa in the womb, in that sense, to the church. During this whole part, though, Sib was just burned at the ladder, I guess is what you would call that, instead of at the stake.
And they did, like, instead of them having her in the middle, burning, they lowered her down like a toaster oven or something. Like, you're just or roasting a marshmallow,
like a turkey.
Yeah, and, like, I want to say, like,
it's probably safer that way in the building. To be fair,
but I just want to say that, like, as a kid, that scene also really messed me up. Like I said, Anakin messed me up. That one was even worse, because, like, I think she did a pretty great job of, like, how you would actually die, like, from heat, like a heat exhaustion in a way, where it's just like she's just trying to stay alive as long as possible, and then she kind of just goes in shock, and then she just catches on fire, like, and her skin's all peeling back. They did a pretty good job in that. Like, it held up pretty well compared to, like, some of the other stuff in the movie that didn't hold up as well in 2020.
And then they're going to do it to Sharon next, but then that's when Mama comes in. And then she comes in, and she goes up, and they're, like, about to beat her up. She's like, "No, Christabella lied to you, and blah, 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 and you're all fools, and you're all damned.
You're all heretics."
This is, you can't get a better life because you're already damned, or whatever she says. And then Christabella just stabs her. It's like straight up stabs her.
Yeah, right. And then, like, right near the heart, so, like, it probably was a fatal.
Nicked something, something important there. She collapses, starts bleeding out there, and then she rises up, and she's bleeding, she's bleeding, and she's bleeding out, she's bleeding out, and she's bleeding out, and she's bleeding out, and then boom, there's Alyssa.
I actually like this scene a lot, especially when she stands up after, like, the pit of hell is made. how Rose stands up, and then like behind her you see all the barbed wire and stuff, and then like
Yeah.
and then the church organ just does like a sting, and I'm like, fuck yeah, like that this is my shit right here, my gothic, the gothicness of barbed wire and almost evilness coming, and then but using a church organ, which is usually seen in a more positive way, like for its spooky factor. I just really like that. I really like that a lot.
Yeah. And then, long story short, all that barbed wire kills everyone except the mom.
I want to say Christabella's death is the second Mortal Kombat fatality in this. Like
It goes it goes up and up there.
It goes up there, and then then it like splits her in half, if I remember correctly, or like it just. I like how the barbed wire too was like circling around her arms, which she like. It's one thing to get like pricked by barbed wire, to have it like circling like that, just oof.
A serration that doesn't feel like it has a beginning and an end.
Yeah, just straight like probably a million bees stabbing at the same time, and then also a tear feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets absolutely destroyed.
Yep. And this whole time, Rose is very calm, and she's picking up Sharon. She goes to walk away, but Sharon's scared, and Rose is like, "Don't look. Keep your eyes closed. Keep your eyes closed." But then Alyssa gets really close because she's curious or whatever, and then they make eye contact. Sharon and Alyssa do, and then does it do anything?
Because it like makes her pass out or whatever, and then like we wake up as an audience with her again, and everyone is gone. Like as if nothing, like everyone's missing, but there's no like blood or anything, as if there wasn't just a massacre in here where everyone got stabbed by barbed wire.
Right. And Outcast with a K is down there still. And she's like, "Why was I spared?" And then we get the line again, "Mother is God in the eyes of a child." And then they leave her.
Even though I'd be kind
car.
of mad at my God if she brought me to a cult to be burned, if it was my opinion. But
well, there's the thing, like you can always forgive your parent.
I guess
It would be hard, and it might take time.
I'm just like,
and you might not even 100% do it, but you do.
Just for a character that is so hell bent, no pun intended, on killing or seeking revenge on the ones that put her in that predicament. It really stems to her mom for giving her up, or I guess having her in a way too. But at the end of the day, the cult still is the murderess. But she didn't actually like fight back really that hard, it seemed, at least in the flashback. But whatever.
As Rose gets in the car, she calls Sean Bean up, be like, "I'm coming home. I got her. It's safe. It's all good." He gets fragments of that phone call.
It's almost like
cool.
static. It was more like static than...
Yeah, exactly. And then we're all home. And, Sean Bean's sleeping on the couch. And they open the door, and they walk in, and the door is open in his reality, too. And they all sit together, and then that's it.
Maybe they'll be able to communicate through, like, a chalkboard or something. Maybe that's what you can replace the accent wall with, a chalkboard wall. And then your ghost daughter and wife can write stuff to you.
There you go. That is Silent Hill. I guess I liked it more than I let on at the beginning, but to me, I don't know. It wasn't. I didn't care about any of these people.
I guess I actually liked the character of
Sean Bean.
No, he was kind of just there to like keep showing that like, oh, they're in an alternate reality. He's getting cucked. That's pretty much it. But
and also to learn the history of the child in the town. But yeah,
I do like Sharon and Alyssa, like the concept of the evil bad guys actually there's a reason to it. It isn't just I'm evil to be evil. Like the real evil ones in this are the cultists, who went to like a million steps too far, that they thought, oh, let's burn a child. Like, y'all are crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like not necessarily in horror films, but I guess in thriller films too, where a religious group is bad or like scary, only because I think in our society that is scary, like the concept of, because there are people out there who believe in certain things. Maybe they don't always act on them, but if you put them in positions of power, they might. You know what I mean? I think in a way that is scary. And you have all those, in Christianity and Catholicism, I guess not all religions, but anything that's stemming from Christianity is typically shown in a more positive light in, media and stuff like that. So I always like it when they're like, no, the Christians are also bad sometimes.
But it is always shown in this lens of the super extreme cult, Salem witch trials stuff, which we all acknowledge is bad, and
but that also wasn't that long ago, and we can't really forget that either. That we got to remember that that's what happens when you let religious groups get into power positions. That they'll
organized religion.
Handmaid's Tale is a great show that stems off that, or that's its main focus.
You have a video game that you haven't played in forever that goes about that. I won't tell you what one it is.
But trying to think now. I was telling you. Resident Evil 4 was like that too. They had that weird religion, but no. So I like that concept. I'm always a fan of that concept. I don't think this movie is scary, except for the cultist stuff, I guess. But I wouldn't say it's
that's more conceptually scary.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's when people think of scary now. I think a lot of people think of jump scare, and I'm like, to me that isn't. Jump scares only work well if you only do them 3 times in the entire horror film. As long as you're, I think slow burning horror films are so much better when it's more of a thriller aspect to it. You want people to feel uncomfortable, and then you throw the jump scare at them, keep them on edge. And this movie has no jump scares that I can remember, or at least attempts to.
The sword coming through the door, but you're already in action mode.
Yeah, so that's a little bit different. It'd be different if she was walking down the hall, all of a sudden a giant sword pops out of the ceiling or something, So I wouldn't say this movie is scary really at all. It just has some, like you said, scary concepts. And I also think it's more of a spookiness to it. And I love horror films, so I think that's why I like this movie more, is because I like all the concepts in this. I like the spookiness of it. I like the vibe of it. So that's why I'm a little bit more forgiving on maybe the plot and whatnot, and some of the characters being kind of boring. But overall, I don't think this movie is bad. I think
it wasn't terrible.
I think for a video game movie, this is at least good.
I understand why it was placed on those lists of this is one of the good ones. For what it's worth. I will say though, maybe there is a lot of. I've been saying that a lot. I will say though. But I will say, though, perhaps we are just not looking deep enough into this film, because what if this movie doesn't buck the trend of Sean Bean dying in every film? And it does. And he does die in it. But it's just on a level that we're just not examining enough.
What I said,
so maybe this is a very deep
his
film.
death is that he lost his family. So he might as well be dead.
But what if it's the real world?
Are you saying that? The real world's dead, and the purgatory world?
What if he died somewhere in his quest? You know what I mean? But so that's the movie we watched, Silent Hill. Do we recommend it to people? I guess.
I think if you're looking for a spooky vibe, but not anything too scary, I think this is good. I would say for people who really don't like horror movies and can stand a little bit of gore, this is fine.
Yeah, this is fine. Yeah.
This is fine. Yeah. This is a gateway. I would say this is the marijuana of horror films. It's not gonna kill you. You might get a little high, a little buzz, but it ain't.
Actually.
But yeah, I think it's a good. If you're getting into horror, it's a good starting point. Maybe not this movie's. Shouldn't be the first one on your list, but it could be.
I mean, and also compared to the other video game movies we watched, if you're watching this movie from that angle, this is better than Mortal Kombat. This is better than Tomb Raider. This is better than what else? What other movies did we see?
Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
Well, everything we're gonna watch from that movie onward will forever be good. Like, a movie would have to mess up so bad to be worse than that film. I still can't believe I wasted.
We have ones on this list like House of the Dead, which made only $13 million.
I'm sure it's better.
Blood Rain, which made only $3 million. Dead or Alive, which made only $7 million. I don't know. They could be a lot worse.
Dude, that movie was not even good bad.
There was a German Far Cry movie that made only $700,000. I bet all of these are worse than that movie.
We'll see. I don't know, man.
Time will tell. Time will tell. We have 55 total movies that I put on my list, and I can add more.
Speaking of other movies we've watched, do you think, like, if you're like, let's just compare it to Resident Evil for a second. Do you recommend? Like,
I liked Resident Evil more.
You like Resident Evil more?
Yeah, but I think this is closer to the video game.
So yeah, I was going to say this is more of a video game movie than Resident Evil is.
Sure, why not? I mean, they're both scary thriller horror movies rather than movies that are trying to show the type of discovery that you get from a video game, like a video game movie, I think should and they will in the future. You know what I mean? Instead of just like set dressing for a buddy cop comedy like Sonic was, or Detective Pikachu, literally almost the same kind of plots those two movies.
Yeah, if anything, I hope the Mario movie has something to do with the cop.
Are you talking about like the
idea, like you said, that
the 80s or the new one?
The two best video game movies have just been buddy cop movies. That like, okay, maybe we need to like try something. Like, I don't even think about that now. That like, if they do that again and it's good, I'll be kind of like, no, you know what? Stop doing that. Stop doing it. I don't think Mario will, but I guess they always could play it safe.
Yep. So it's up there for us.
This movie is technically a buddy cop movie. At some points,
I guess. In any case, if you want to find out what we're watching next for this, you can tune in to future episodes of the Sonic Movie Show, a weekly podcast. You can find a variety of podcast services such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon's Audible app, as well as their music streaming service, Stitcher, Libsyn, all these other places. We also do if you like us talking about movies like this, we do a much better job when we talk about Vin Diesel's movies, because we have complex notes and we put like 2 hours into it. And sometimes there's a song. So we do that too. That's once a month. It's on this very channel that you're listening to. If you want to tune in and tap into our lives, follow the show on Twitter at Sonic Movie Show. Giggling over there is Devin, who is on Twitter at CURSONA YouTube, and I'm on Twitter at Ethan Absolutely. Good night. God bless. I love you. Take care of your loved ones. Don't burn any children.
Don't burn any children. Just don't have children. I'm
Sonic.
Honestly. You know?
Not in this economy.
Not in this economy.